Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Wednesday, February 1st. So welcome to the very first day of February, taking place on a Wednesday, Mercury ruled. And of course, when we break down both the traditional and modern day calendar, we are working with 2s and 3s this month. 3s, of course, Mercury ruled as well. And with the moon in Gemini, Mercury ruled, we definitely are going to have a lot to process in our mental plane. A lot of new information and details coming at us this month that's really going to help us or force us, one way or another, to build new systems, routines, relationships, structures, foundations in our lives. And we will get a very slow but steady start on that before, of course, we are brought to a sudden halt. Again, we are preparing for a very chaotic month coming at us in March, and February is definitely going to give us a little bit of boost in the first half and then totally block us and throw us in a void of emotion, intuition, and basically pause our energy and efforts until we move into the divinely scripted chaos of March. If you're wondering what that's all about, please listen to the 2023 energy forecast that I put out there, breaking down this year 1 month at a time. And of course, you can go ahead and listen to February's energy forecast. The intro should be out there for your listening pleasure. And as we enter into a new month, it would be a great time to join my Patreon so that you can access all 12 of the zodiac forecasts and kind of scope out your big three, get a huge, big, brand new vision and picture on what it is that February is really going to offer to you. Be a great time to jump over and become a Moon Guide subscriber, as we are going to chase this lunar cycle throughout this month and really help refine and define the kind of things that we want to be manifesting under the moon events. So we are seeing the moon in Gemini kind of come into its power. It's not going to be there for too long, as we are going to be shifting into Cancer energy. The moon in its place of power in Cancer energy. And let me just say, the last couple of days has definitely been a lot of pressure in our mental planes, really actively trying to sort out the good, the bad, the ugly of our choices, of our ideas, of our goals, of our options. And now we're going to have to bring those ideas down into the heart space, really get a feel for how it is that we feel about them. Now, the moon in Cancer, very introverted. We want to kind of pull back from the social scene that Gemini energy had us all cluster effed up in. And we no longer want to be stimulated by the outside world. We no longer want conversations. We want to move inward. We want to stick to ourselves. We want to kind of focus our time and energy on finding what is comfortable, what is old, tried, tested, and true, what is familiar. And with all of this emphasis from Aquarius season shining a bright light on the possibilities of the future, all these new ideas and insights coming in, we're definitely going to struggle with leaving the past behind, leaving the present moment behind, to really move into our heart space and really decide how we feel about some of the past, the directions, the choices that we are considering in taking. So the moon will move out of this Gemini energy at 6:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The moon goes void, of course. And let me tell you, we spend the majority of the waking day up until 3:12 p.m. with the moon being void. So that is very, very unstable energy. It is really a lot of pressure, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of insecurities, fears, and doubts come up. We do not want to make any kind of decisions or commitments while the moon is void. And then, of course, the minute that we shift into that Cancer energy, we're going to be all up in our feels, a little bit on edge, a little bit defensive. We're definitely wanting to kind of, just kind of stick to our comfort zones, if you will, really take care of ourselves and our loved ones in a way. And a lot of this acts as a distraction from doing what it is that we have to do to move forward. Instead, we would like to just make up all the excuses to stay where we're at or to reflect back on where it is that we're coming from. With 10 different aspects here today and 8 of them involving the moon, we're definitely in for a little bit of a whirlwind, a little bit of a conflict, if you will, between the heart and the head. Now, the moon is going to make a positive aspect with Pluto, the moon in Gemini at this point. And Pluto, the great transformer, is nearing those final degrees of that Capricorn energy. Lucky for us, this is a harmonious event, which means that we are bossing up. We are feeling that transformation take place in our heart, in our headspace. We are essentially taking a new stance on what it is that we need to kind of get a grip on, what it is that we need to have control over in order to actually feel like we are moving out in the world and making things happen for us instead of sitting back and allowing things to happen to us. The moon is going to square Neptune, who is in Pisces energy. This isn't going to feel so good. The disconnect here is that the moon in Gemini kind of relies on our intellect in the here and now, the logic, the practicality, the data, the information, the statistics that our current environment is kind of dictating for us. While Neptune, who is in Pisces energy, its place of power, is all about our higher self, all about dreams and imagination and our fantasy land. And of course, we're not feeling too confident in allowing ourselves to drift off in that particular avenue because, again, we don't have the information and the data to actually prove that that is the right way to go. So there is this kind of toss up, this pull back, if you will, between our thought process, our intellect, our mental plane, and of course, that imaginary vision and dream that many of us are trying to conjure up and manifest. The moon goes ahead, semi-squares the true node. A semi-square is a little bit of a tension point. The true node, of course, is trying to get us on the right path in moving forward. And right now, we're really questioning things. That's what we do in Gemini energy. Why? Because it's represented by the twins. What does that mean? It means that we have to kind of, I'm going to say, start at opposing ideas, at extreme points of view, and really debate out the pros and cons and find ourselves a middle ground. But right now, there are multiple, I'm going to say, steps that we could all take to initiate the path of moving forward. We're just a little bit unsure about which one we should actually take. And of course, that is creating a little bit of mental pressure, a little bit of frustration, if you will, on just not being so solid and certain on which is the best avenue to take. The moon is going to make a harmonious aspect with Chiron, the wounded healer. This does kind of suggest that we're making some progress in healing some of the negative outlooks, negative narratives, negative thoughts that may have come up over the last couple of days of trying to discern what is the right path for us, what is the right direction and choice point for us. Again, the Gemini energy constantly has us in a divisional state in our mental plane and in our heart space. And Chiron is here to show us the growth, to show us the healing, to show us the power that we now have by having to do a deep dive in the not so nice thoughts and feelings in order to weed out where our ego, our shadow self, is actually preventing us from aligning with the vision, with the choice, with the direction that our heart space knows that we should make. Now, the moon is going to trine Saturn, and this is the very last aspect that the moon in Gemini is going to make before going void, of course. It is a trine, which means that it's working in our favor, and Saturn, of course, being the lord of karma, ruling over roles and responsibilities, systems and structures in this Aquarian energy, is really helping us to launch ourselves into a futuristic vision and dream, and then bring ourselves back into the present moment and realize what it is that we have control over in the here and now, what it is that we have to get to building in the here and now in order to provide us with this beautiful bridge that's going to get us away from where it is that we're at and a little bit closer to where it is that we desire to be. Now, the moon interacting with Saturn in this way is definitely going to put a different perspective on the roles, on the responsibilities, on the commitments, on the obligations that we have in our, I'm going to say, daily lives, and where it is that we are pushing the boundaries of those existing tasks and chores, and where it is that maybe we can innovate, spice it up, do it in a new way in order to keep things light and bright and a little bit exciting. So, of course, the moon goes void at 6:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and at 10:07 we are going to have the moon, which is now void, of course, interact with the sun in Aquarius energy, which is really going to be an awkward interaction because we're not thinking clearly, we're not feeling grounded, we're really questioning things, and at this point we're really kind of speaking fears and doubts into the possibilities that we were once excited about. Neptune goes ahead, semi-squares the true node. out. So our intuition is not very clear right now. Again, the moon is void. Our higher self is not as accessible as we would like. Our dreams not as clear as we would like. Our imagination running away with the worst case scenarios about moving forward. And we're definitely just not feeling confident enough to take that first step forward. We have the moon kicking off with Pluto in not the nicest way. And where the moon is void, of course, this is likely going to bring up all of the negative aspects. We are kind of being taken down memory lane to remind ourselves of our failures, of our disappointments, of the pain and the trauma and the suffering, reminding ourselves of all the times that we just kind of failed to take our lives in our own hands and what that actually meant for us. Now, this is a choice point. This is a learning point. This is an opportunity for us to kind of rewrite the wrongs of our past, and we are going to be presented with a choice point on whether or not we're going to just curl up in a ball and continue to allow the negative narrative, the fears, the doubts, the dreams, the fears and the doubts because of our dreams to paralyze us from actually taking action to identify what our dreams actually are. Now, emotionally speaking, our heart and our head are not on the same page. And in this interaction with Pluto, we are definitely seeing the cluster-aphory going on in our inner realm and what needs to be kind of identified and cleared out before we can get our heart and head on the same page. Of course, that's the first step of manifesting. The second step is engaging the physical body in order to take action on what it is that we've kind of resolved about ourselves in our inner realm. We're not there yet. Now, 2:26 p.m., the moon is still void, of course, but the sun in Aquarius is going to go ahead and sextile, which is a beautiful energy, with Chiron, the wounded healer. So this is definitely going to help us, even though we're kind of, in a very unstable state. This is going to help us figure out what we're being called to pursue. This is like a new sense of meaning, a new sense of purpose, a new mission unfolding, if you will. We are definitely feeling our mental planes come back online. We are feeling a boost in optimism, a boost in confidence. We are definitely feeling a little bit more clear in our vision, in our dreams. We have a push really inspiring us to continue this healing and growth journey to get to where it is that we desire to be. This is definitely a pick-me-up. And right now we have the opportunity to come up with some very brilliant solutions to some of the problems, especially some of the, I'm going to say, cluster-effery that's been going on in our mental plane through these, I'm going to say, last few hours. We are going to be able to correct that. We're going to be able to override that. And then we have the moon, still very much in Gemini energy, still void, of course, making a semi-square with Uranus, the great awakener, who likes to shock us and awe us and just throw wild card ideas at us and open up our minds to change. But here's the thing. We are uncertain. We are not thinking clearly. We are not open. We are not receptive. We literally just want to curl up in a ball and not do anything. And I feel like this is going to illuminate a lot more fears and a lot more blockages, a lot more challenges than actually sets us free. Typically speaking, if this was a positive interaction, we would gain a whole lot of insight. We would gain a whole lot of, I'm going to say, boost in our energy in order to overcome some of the negative narratives taking over. This particular energy, because A, the moon is void, which means that we aren't certain at all. We're questioning everything. And B, that this is a semi-square, a negative interaction, this is likely going to highlight where it is that we're rigid in our thinking, where it is that we're stuck in our rut, where it is that we're thinking about the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and where it is that we're literally emotionally uncertain about what it is that we want to do and where it is that we want to go from here. This is actually the last aspect of the day. So keep in mind that 3 minutes later, the moon is going to lock into Cancer energy, and then we are stalled out for the rest of the day. It's going to get very quiet. It's going to be very introverted. We are going to be overwhelmed with a lot of feelings once the moon actually moves into that Cancer energy. But we need this pause. We need to pull back. We need to move inward and find ourselves a stable emotional point before we go ahead and start tossing new ideas around.